can. Listen, the person that says they can and the person that says they can't are both correct.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm this J Brothers filling in for Mr. Harvey Elwood. Remember, you can always catch us live streaming at www.wocs937fm.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so honored. You know, I always tell everybody we have celebrities that actually come through this station. And actually, no, like he really is big time. Like he's real big time. So, you know, we have none other than Mr. Elijah Beckford and the Valentinos, correct?
Bradford.
Ooh, I pronounced that last name wrong. But forgive me. And the Valentinos. Welcome to New Perspectives.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about being here.
Absolutely. So for our community listeners that may not be familiar with who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Okay. Well, as I stated, I'm Elijah Bradford. I'm the lead singer for the Valentinos. We're a gospel/R&B group from Sumter, South Carolina. I actually have a production company, Coffee House Productions, that houses two groups. The Valentinos is my male group and Purpose Driven is my female group. And so we've been doing gospel for about 10 years and we've been doubling with gospel and R&B for about the last 3 or 4 years now.
Absolutely. So what is a typical day for an artist? Give us what is your typical day? How does
typical day? Well, if you don't have an interview, early interviews or things like that, you probably get up around 12, 1 o'clock because most of the time we perform is at night. And depending on what time you go on, you sing late. And then you go out to eat and do all those sort of things. And so you're getting kind of late. So we get up around maybe 12, 1 o'clock and then do what we have to do.
Absolutely. So what made you go into this career field? I mean, because I know you probably could have done other things, but what made you just say, you know what, I think this is really for me. This is really what I want to do.
Music has been a part of who I am since before I could talk. You know, my mother is actually a part of a quartet group there where we grew up, and so growing up in my house, I always heard folks y'all probably don't even know, probably Dorothy Love Coates and the Gospel Harmonettes, and see he's shaking his head, don't know him. Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers, and Claude G and the Swan Silvertones, Mighty Clouds of Joy. So I grew up listening to that type of hard gospel. So music has been a part of what I do for years.
Absolutely. So you said years. So I know you probably have a lot of encouragement along the way. I know so many people probably have told you, you know, oh yeah, I knew you could do it. I know this could happen. But tell us, what was your biggest motivation? Who encouraged you the most to actually stick with this? I'm quite sure being an artist is never easy because I know there's so many different capacities that you have to serve and also so many things that you have to do to probably release a CD and get booked, get signed. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes into the mix before everybody sees the finished masterpiece. So tell us what made you stay motivated and what was that driving force behind you to really say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do.
The main thing that I would say, and I always tell artists, is you have to learn the art of, first of all, encouraging yourself and being sure that this is what you're called to do, because this is not easy. An easy road, and you're gonna hear more times than you're gonna hear yes. And after you learn the art of encouraging yourself, then you have to learn the art of not caring what other people think about what you're called to do. Anybody that's ever done anything great or has been successful at anything has always had to step out the box. If you're afraid to step out of the box and do what you've been called and assigned to do, you're going to hold your own progress up. I always tell people ask me, well, how do you guys sing gospel and sing R&B? And it's very simple. You know, people, sometimes in church we call it the devil's music. You call R&B the devil's music. And I beg to differ. The devil doesn't have any music. God is in control of all music. Now, the devil has influence. He can influence music. But ultimately, God is in control of music. And then as long as the music is clean, it's encouraging, it's not degrading anybody, I feel like you ought to go into what avenue. You can sing what you want to sing. If you want to sing classical music, sing classical music. If you want to do jazz, sing jazz. Whatever you've been called to do or whatever excites you, whatever makes you vibrate, that's what you do.
Well, that was a mini sermon, low key, that he just gave. So I was just looking. I was just wondering. I was like, well, pass the collection plate and then go home as soon as you finish.
And believe it or not, you know, a lot of times we go and sing. I always say that the R&B music is my decoy, okay? Because a lot of times when we go and sing, it never fails. By the time we finish, people always ask, are you a preacher? Are you a preacher? You know, and we always close the show with a song I wrote called Miracles. Maybe about 7 years ago, I got really, really ill, even psychologically ill, because I'm used to being a strong person, used to being in charge, and to become ill and not be in control and the doctor's not quite sure what's going on with you, it was a different place for me, so it started bothering me psychologically. And but through that process, God healed me without any medicine or anything like that. God healed me, and I wrote a song called Miracles. And so every time we do a show, whether it be gospel or R&B, we end the show with that song Miracles. And so many testimonies come behind it. And by the time we finish, now we just did Benedict Saturday. We did a concert at Benedict, a back to school thing they had, and at the end we did Miracles. We just finished singing Temptations and all this kind of stuff, but at the end we did Miracles, and to see the tears come down people's faces, by being blessed by what we sing, it's well worth it. It is well worth it.
Wow, absolutely. He's Pastor Bradford. Start calling him that. While we're on that, so you said something that sort of brought this question when you said it's psychological, because do you think that's why a lot of artists they have breakdowns and different things because of the pressure that's on them, like recording and trying to please the crowd and then trying to please others? Why do you think so many people they suffer through that?
I'm glad you asked me that. What most people don't realize about artists, not singers, not musicians, artists, there's a difference. Okay, what people don't realize about artists is you live in two worlds, right? You live, like I'm sitting here today, I'm talking to you guys now, but there's a whole nother world going on that you guys can't see, where we're always being inspired. There's always something creative. I'll probably leave here today, and by something that one of you guys have said, I'll be inspired to write something or talk about something on Facebook or something like that. So we always live in two worlds. And the thing about the creative world is it never stops. So if you're not balanced, or you don't have anybody around you to keep you balanced, you'll find yourself trying to find aids to balance you, i.e. Whitney Houston, i.e. Bobby Brown. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Donny Hathaway. All the Phyllis Hyman, all these folks suffered psychologically because they didn't have folks around them that was able to keep them grounded. So the music and the creativity, you love it, but you love it so much that sometimes it can become a hindrance to you, or it can harm you if you don't know how to put it in its proper place.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dennis J. Brothers. If you're just now tuning in, I'm talking to Mr. Elijah Bradford. We're just talking about being an artist and different things like that. But I'm going to turn it over to two other co-hosts, Miss Kaya Love and Mr. DeAndre Brothers. They do have some questions that they would like to ask as well. So I'm going to be turning it over to them.
Hey everyone, this is Kaya Love.
And this is DeAndre Brothers. How y'all doing?
So, Mr. Bradford.
Yes, ma'am.
Question of the day. Of the day. How did you guys come together as a group? I know you said you were inspired, but how did you get all the guys to come together, and what made you guys think, let's put this group together and let's just go out there and do it?
All right. We went to sing there's a conference that James Cleveland started before he passed away called the GMWA. And I took my female group, Purpose Driven, to sing at that event. Well, the Valentinos are actually, because we sing, but then we all play. So every person on the group plays an instrument. So we went with Purpose Driven to provide music, and the girls went shopping at the mall. And while they were shopping, we got bored, so we just got up and you just started singing. And I wish I could pull the picture up. There was an officer there, I guess that was against the rules. And so he kind of told us, no, y'all got to cut that out. So he took us off stage because people started coming around. We had never sung together before. We only played. But we all, just playing around, and we started singing. So when we got back to South Carolina, we decided, maybe we should do something. Maybe we should start a group. So we started singing. We started the group. And when we first started, our mindset was we were just going to be a regular quartet group. And one night I was watching TV1. There's a show that they do called Unsung, where they showcase, different artists and, tell the stories of how artists came to be or whatever. Well, this particular night, I was at my mother-in-law's house, and they did a story on the Marvelettes. That was a group at Motown. I know you heard of the Supremes before. Okay, well, the Marvelettes were like the sister group to the Supremes. And I was sitting on the couch, and I had an epiphany. And God said to me that I'm going to do the same thing with you in gospel music that I did with Berry Gordy and Motown. And I went to my group because it really scared me when I heard it, because I know how church can be and how church people can respond when something is different. So I went to my group, we sat down, we talked. Long story short, we had a meeting, and they agreed. And what you see, if you go on YouTube and look at our videos, we do the same thing when we're singing gospel that we do when we sing R&B. We do the dance moves, we do all of that. Nothing is different, only the words, basically. But that's how it all started. It started in Nashville, Tennessee at GMWA, singing on the stage and getting thrown off.
Wow. Inspiring. So where are you guys headed next performance-wise?
Performance-wise, I think coming up, we will be performing at the Spirit Communications Stadium in Columbia for the Eclipse on the 21st,
Oh,
Monday coming
wow.
up. Yeah.
Y'all got glasses?
Yeah, better.
Okay.
We
I was about
better.
to say, I hope y'all got glasses while y'all out there performing.
Yeah, so they're gonna watch the eclipse, and then there's gonna be a party after that, and we're gonna be performing for the party.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool. Okay,
Mhm.
okay. Talk to us a little bit about your EP.
Our EP, Irresistible. It's I think we have about 5 songs on that EP we recorded, and it's just a bunch of music that I wrote. Our lead single is Jesus Rolled the Stone. It's a remake of The Temptations' Papa Was a Rolling Stone. And so we just took that song and flipped it, and everywhere we go, we can't get away from having to do that particular song. So that's the lead single from the EP. But right now we're actually transitioning. We're actually going in the studio tonight to record our first R&B single.
You mentioned church. Is that where you started, or the people that's within the Valentinos, are they all a part of?
We all are ministers of music at different churches.
Oh man.
Yeah. They when they announced that when we sung at the township, they were like, these guys are all ministers of music at their church, and everybody was like, huh? Yeah, we're all ministers of music. So that's another component that was challenging at first, because we have the 2 groups and then we're all dedicated to churches, so finding the time to balance and scheduling is highly important, because churches can be demanding, especially when they're giving you a paycheck. So we have to find the time to balance the music, the group, the traveling, and then making sure we're home and taking care of the responsibility that we're called to at home.
Speaking of, like, how hard can that get? Let's say you got a show today, and tonight you gotta go play at church, when you gotta change a whole different style. You might have to throw it back a couple of centuries. how easily or how hard can that be, like, to balance that out?
It's easy. Now, you mean in terms of switching music?
Yeah, switching music.
Okay, it's easy, because like I stated earlier, I believe that all music is God's music, unless it's being influenced by the enemy. So switching music for me is the same. I sing whenever I get on stage, I sing with my whole heart, soul, mind, my whole body. I mean, by the time I leave, I look at my performance as, like for Valentine's Day, you get your girl or your wife or whoever, you get her this nice present. You get it in a nice pink box, and it has the bow on it and all that kind of stuff. And then you give it to her, and then she rips it open and rip the paper apart, and then she gets to the gift. That's how I look at my stage performance. Whenever I get on stage, I don't care if it's gospel, R&B, I don't care if it's classical. When I get on stage, it's that pink gift box. But by the time I leave, it's all opened up, the paper's all over the place, and you have the gift. So that's how I look at every performance I have. It's not necessarily what I'm singing, but it's how I present my performance. And when I'm on stage, it's not just me. Right. See, and that's why people always ask me, well, are you a preacher? And they say that because there's a presence that's there that's beyond the words to the music that they don't see.
That makes it more powerful.
It does.
Speaking of your group, what is your group ultimate goal for the community?
We have a saying at Coffee House Productions, that music is a medicine, God is the ingredient, and we write the prescription. So whenever I introduce the singers when I'm on stage, I always introduce them as doctors. So I'll say, I'm Dr. Elijah Bradford. This is my brother's Arsenio. So I'll say, this is Dr. Arsenio Bradford, so on and so on and so on. Because our ultimate goal is, when we get off stage, whenever somebody comes into a room when I'm singing, I want them to leave knowing that whatever problem they walked in the door with, I don't care what it is. You could have went to the doctor and got a bad report. They told you had some kind of disease you can't get rid of, yeah. Or they calling you and telling you that your house is going into foreclosure, or whatever you're going through a divorce, as I have, and it seems as if your way is dark. When I leave stage, my goal is for people to leave saying, you know what? I thought I couldn't make it, but after hearing them and after experiencing this, I think I can go on a little bit further. I want them to leave encouraged, knowing that there's an ultimate power, and that is God. God supersedes any circumstance or situation we could ever find ourselves in. He supersedes that.
Just like miracles. That's why you close with miracles. How can we contact and book the Valentino?
You can go to my website, www.elijahbradford.com. As soon as you hit the website, it's right up there. You can book us. You can watch videos. You can leave us messages. You can chat with us. That's how you can reach out to us. And we're also on Facebook, Elijah Bradford and the Valentinos, and Instagram, I am Elijah Bradford.
Absolutely. Can you repeat that information one
and
more
YouTube.
time, please? Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, you've got like 4 mini sermons in like one segment. So he's already told you everything. Before we wrap up, is there any kind of closing words that you would like to leave with our listeners?
I do. I want to tell those that are listening, you might not be a singer, you may not be a musician, but whatever it is that you've been called to do, whatever your gift is, do that. Because I think it was, I heard Miles Monroe, he was preaching one time, and he said, it would be sad that at the end of your life, everybody's dream is when you get ready to pass over that you would have your family members standing around your bed and you would have them wishing you well and praying for you and, sending you over to the other side. But what if you got ready to pass over? Instead of your family members, it was standing around your bed where the dreams, the ideas, the visions, and everything that God had given you that you decided to neglect. And they look at you and they say, you could have utilized us, and now we're going to die with you. We're going to go in the grave with you. There's so many books, there's so many CDs, there's so many restaurants, there's so many child care facilities, schools or whatever that are dying with people because we refuse to do what's in us to do, because maybe somebody told you that you couldn't accomplish what you set out to accomplish. I believe, and this is me, this is what I believe that you set up your life. If you believe that you cannot make it, you are absolutely correct. You cannot make it. Can't nobody help you make it. I don't care if you say you can't make it because you don't have enough money, you don't have the resources, because you're black, you don't sing good. Whatever the reason is that you say you can't make it, you are absolutely correct. You cannot make it. But on the other hand, if you believe that you can make it, can't nobody stop you no matter what they do. They'll close one door, then God will open up another window.
Absolutely. Well, mini sermon part 5. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been Dennis Brothers alongside with my wonderful co-host, Miss Kaya Love and Mr. DeAndre Brothers. So they'll be doing this more often. They're naturals at the mic. So, and both of them are recent college graduates, South Carolina State and Stephen F. Austin in Texas. And we have been joined by Pastor Elijah, but no, Mr. Elijah Bradford. Remember, do not touch that dial, ladies and gentlemen. I keep asking y'all. I have to say the same thing in closing. Do not touch that dial, because there's more great music coming up right here on WOCS 93.7 FM, the People Station.
Peace.